There's an awakening that has occurred, and there are problems that cannot be ignored, because there are truths that need to be revealed. We're living in a time where you can see the true character of people, where you will know their genuine essence. Some people don't mind seeing the demoralization that is proliferating within our everyday lives. They're exulting in it. Some people don't mind the corruption of younger generations who are being led astray. They're only helping it. Well, some of us do mind, and I for one have had enough of this presence. I've made this video to expose the seeds of this perverse, twisted agenda, this perverse, twisted idea, this perverse and twisted thought brought about by polluted minds who only want to ensnare others with their corruption. I'm going to do my part to help shatter these false gods of the so-called Illuminati so that this age of Pisces can finally end, and this new age of knowing, the age of Aquarius, this age of harmony, this age of wisdom can be brought into fruition. So we know their organization, we know that it's Rome who's behind it, and then they have their subgroups, the Committee of 300, their secret societies, but at the top it's the Church of Rome, guys. It's the Church of Venus, and this is who needs to be exposed. This is who is on top of everything, and it's time to break these relationships with these guys. We have the EU, the UN, the select priesthoods within the Vatican. So it's time to out these guys, break these connections, and know who they're praying to and what they're doing. That's the whole purpose of this video. And here we have The Birth of Venus by Sandro Botticelli. Most people consider Venus to be the planet of love, as this is the general consensus that is taught by most astrologers in our current time. However, history shows that Venus was only popularized and given this persona from the Greeks. Previous civilizations always knew and considered Venus in a far strikingly manner, a planet of war and chaos. As mentioned in Ev Cochrane's book, The Many Faces of Venus, the planet Venus in ancient myth and religion, Venus was associated with dire portents and tales of apocalyptic disaster for the simplest of reasons. It was a primary player in spectacular cataclysms involving the earth in relative recent times, well within the memory of ancient man. The planet Venus as a disaster bringer is equally apparent in Mesoamerica. Bernardino de Sahagún, a Franciscan friar writing in the 16th century, chronicled the Aztecs' perception of Venus. And when Venus emerged, much fear came over them. All were frightened. Everywhere the outlets and openings of houses were closed up. It was said that perchance the light might bring a cause of sickness, something evil when it came to emerge. In the attempt to propitiate Venus, the Aztecs offered it human sacrifices, a practice associated with the planet in the Old World as well. A survey of Venus lore reveals a diverse set of intriguing and endlessly recurring themes. The planet as female or goddess, the planet as agent of war, death, and destruction, the planet as witch-like hag, the planet as eye of heaven, and numerous others to be discussed. Why is this information relative and important? Because it's the cult of Venus that rules the world at this present moment. Because it's the cult of Venus that has enslaved you, and it's up to you to get yourself out of it.
Flamma seius, Lucifer matutinus inveniat. Ille inquam Lucifer, qui nescito casum, Christus filius tuus, qui regressus ab inferis, humano generis serenus iluxit, et tecum vivit et regnat in saecula saeculorum.
It should be duly noted that this is the only time I recall having to look in demonology books to learn more about a culture's historical deities. One of the more popular male aspects of Venus was the god Set in Egypt, who was exalted during the Hyksos period where Kemet, commonly known as Egypt, was invaded by a nomadic tribe. There the Hyksos worshipped the god Set, a god of chaos and also homosexuality. Set was also known as Baal-Hadad in the Ugaritic myth The Baal Cycle, where after defeating the sea god Yam, Hadad begins his ascent into heaven, only to be brought down by the stronger god Mot. However, in that process, he gives birth to a son, Atar the Terrible, the one we call Lucifer. Lucifer is commonly known as Astoreth, the false accuser. And now Baal-Hadad is known as Beelzebul, a fallen angel, a fallen demon who in the Testament of Solomon describes his functions. And in the Testament of Solomon by F.C. Conybeare, on page 21, I quote, "And I summoned again to stand before me Beelzebul, the prince of demons, and I sat him down on a raised seat of honor, and said to him, Why art thou alone, prince of the demons? And he said to me, Because I alone am left of the angels of heaven that came down. For I was first angel in the first heaven, being entitled Beelzebul, and now I control all those who are bound in Tartarus. But I too have a child, and he haunts the Red Sea, and on any suitable occasion he comes up to me again, being subject to me, and reveals to me what he has done, and I support him. I, Solomon, said to him, Beelzebul, what is thy employment? And he answered me, I destroy kings. I ally myself with foreign tyrants, and my own demons I set unto men, in order that the latter may believe in them and be lost. And the chosen servants of God, priests and faithful men, I excite unto desires for wicked sins, and evil heresies, and lawless deeds. And they obey me, and I bear them on to destruction. And I inspire men with envy and desire for murder, and for wars and sodomy and other evil things, and I will destroy the world. And Solomon asks Beelzebul, Tell me by what angel thou art frustrated? And he answered, By the holy and precious name of the Almighty God, called by the Hebrews by a row of numbers, of which the sum is 644, and among the Greeks it is Emmanuel. And if one of the Romans adjure me by the great name of the power Elieth, I disappear at once. And in another translation of the Testament of Solomon by D.C. Dooling, we find additional information where Beelzebul is associated with the evening star, Venus. Hadad's consort was the goddess Anat, known throughout history as Inanna, Tanit, Kali, Hera, and Juno. Both Baal-Hadad and Anat have a history of child ritual sacrifice, stemming from their worship as Tanit and Baal-Hamon, as Kali and Shiva with their Thuggee cult followers, as well as even in Greece. In the book of Revelation, it refers to a harlot who sits on the many waters. Well, that harlot is Juno. You might be asking yourself, how could this have happened? How and why would entities such as this have such an influence over the world? This is explained through astrology, or astrologos, the Word of God. Astrology is one, if not the main subjects that this dark priesthood and their false gods have been trying to hide and keep hidden, because they use this knowledge and abuse it. The reason why these events happened is simple. Every planet gets to exalt during a time period. Since the planets are issuers and influencers of consciousness, their ultimate characteristics will be strengthened during their time of their exaltation and will dominate the other spheres. So, for example, during the last age, the age of Aries, whose motto is I am, people venerated the sun, as the sun exalts in Aries, and people were discovering and learning more about themselves and their bodies, and were learning of their own divinity and what their bodies were capable of, that their bodies were microcosms of the macrocosm, or a little universe connected to the bigger universe, and this wisdom was venerated and made open and available to the public, to those whom would commit the necessary time and sacrifice their time to learn these wonderful divine revelations as to how to build a relationship with the cosmos and how to avoid the pitfalls of the darker side. These were mystery schools. These were benefic mystery schools. As compared to now, where most people who seek to find deeper and hidden meanings in an organized fashion are led astray and find themselves worshiping dark and destructive intelligences, even performing horrific acts that are condemnable. So let's take a look at the astrological characteristics of the sun and how they manifested onto our physical plane during the last stage of Aries. For this, I'll be using the book Introduction to Traditional Astrology by Abu Mashar and Al-Kabisi, translated by Dr. Benjamin Dykes. And the characteristics of the sun astrologically are follows. The nature of the sun is hot and dry. He signifies the life-giving soul, the light and splendor, reason and intellect and knowledge and middle age. He even signifies the king and princes and generals, nobles and magnates, and the assembling of men, strength too, and victory, and fame, beauty, and greatness, and the loftiness of mind, and pride, and good commendations, and the appetite for a kingdom and assets, and the greatness of esteem for gold. And he signifies a multitude of speaking, and the valuing of cleanliness, and he impedes beyond measure one who is conjoined to him, or approaches him. For he who is closer to him in place will be more full of labor than all men, and by how much more than one will be elongated from him, he will be that much more fortunate. For he who is approaching the sun will leave no memory, nor will have a trace of him appear. He puts in order and destroys, profits and impedes. Makes fortunate and unfortunate, sometimes raises up, sometimes puts down, and he signifies the matter of religion and the hereafter, also judges and the wise, fathers and middle brothers, and the crowd, and yellow. He provides everything that someone asks for, is strong for revenge, punishing rebels and evildoers, and of faith a good cult and what is like it. Now let's take a look at the astrological characteristics of Venus and how they manifested onto our physical plane during the past age of Pisces, which ended when the sun crossed the vernal equinox in 2012. For this analysis, I'll be using two books, the first being The Beginning of Wisdom by Avraham ibn Ezra, and the second, Introduction to Traditional Astrology by Abu Mashar and Al-Kabisi. Venus denotes the desiring part of the soul, fructification and multiplication, in other words, greed. She signifies eunuchs. Eunuchs was the older word or term used to designate homosexuals or gays. Women, actors, musicians, and poets. In her share is everything that is in the belly of the earth. Of human natures she denotes adultery, excessive lust for everything, false testimony, and natural and unnatural sexual intercourse. Of her ailments are all that occur in the kidneys and in the genitalia. And according to Abu Mushar and Al-Kabisi, admiration and elation, also pride and boasting, a love of singing and amusement and laughing, ornamentation and joy and happiness, also leisure and being dissolute, and intoxication, and buffoonery, and resisting the people, and the sons of fornication, and every male or female fornicator or singer, or one having fun with different kinds of amusements. She signifies a multitude of perjuries and lies. She signifies every intoxicating drink, and a multitude of sexual intercourse of diverse kinds, ridicule and rejection, the strength of the body and weakness of the soul, and of masteries, the instruments of games, ornaments too in beautiful shapes, and the games of dice and chess, dancing and leisure, and fornications and fornicators, and of infirmities, cold and moist diseases which happen particularly and especially in the genital members, and of assets, what is sought on account of beauty, as are the ornaments of women and their clothing, and pearls and painting, passionate desire for eating, drinking, and sexual intercourse, and of faith, the worship of idols, and those especially in which they practice eating and drinking. Venus is the planet of desire, and also the main significant of homosexuality as evidenced in the chronicling of these manifestations. So for this, I'll be reading from Persian Nativities, Volume 1, by Masha Allah and Abu Ali. Whether the querent would be polluted by the sodomitical vice. These are their words, not mine. And so, Venus in a domicile of Mercury, while Mercury is place Ari, he will be polluted by the sodomitical blemish. Likewise, Venus in Capricorn or Pisces or Aries or Taurus, under the regard of Mars or Saturn, particularly when she is scorched, does not show another judgment. Likewise, if Venus is in one of those signs and one of the malefics overcomes her, in fact, with her in those same signs, Occidental or even Oriental, regarded by Mars or Saturn, or in a domicile of Mars, while he regards her from the 7th or the pivot of parents or the 6th, he will rejoice in the sodomitical vice. Moreover, the traversal of Venus in the 6th, indeed of the moon in the 12th at the same time, under the birth of women, afflicts the wife herself with the same blemish. But under a male nativity, it heralds the sexual impurity of the man with women, or it shows an effeminate man, especially with Venus regarded by Saturn and Mars. For Venus herself traversing in the 8th shows a citizen of the Sodomites. For with her traversing in the 6th or the 12th, with Saturn and Mars being arranged in a female sign and in a pivot, it signifies the same, especially while the lights are in a male sign and Venus is lingering in a female one. So to summarize this in astrological terms, Venus is the planet that designates homosexuality and transgenderism, as Venus itself is transgendered, being that it switches from extreme positions of male and female personas. And from this accumulative information, you can now see why this dark Venusian priesthood exalts these traits in the public the way they do. And since Venus rules over musicians, actors, and poets, you can see why these chosen key figures in the entertainment industry are the ultimate outlets of this Venusian influence. The season of sacrifice is dedicated to Venus during its exaltation in Pisces during the spring equinox, during March 19th to May 1st. This is the time when many false flag attacks have occurred and have become too frequent in modern times. The real targets of these attacks are the minds of people, so they become subjugated to fear, which is the real weapon of this satanic Venusian cult. Fear. These methodologies are considered to be the blackest magic because they use astrology to synchronize these events to maximize their potential. This is the abuse and misuse of divine knowledge, which is completely abominable. These are modern-day sorcerers abusing knowledge they never should have had. Make no mistake about it, these events are dedicated to the satanic trinity that is in Rome, who is Baal, Ashtoreth, and Atar. All of these demonic intelligences like to be hidden, which is why Venus exults in the dark and the night sky after the sun has made his rounds, where it is the only star shining at night. The way to combat these modern-day sorcerers and these malefic planetary intelligences they conjure is with light, which is knowledge. The greater our ability to gain knowledge and spread this information, the more self-empowered we will become to thwart these events in the future. And in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea." This is one of the most satanic and darkest statements you can ever read. First off, the first heaven responds to Chokmah, or wisdom, and the first earth responds to Adonai, our earthly plane of existence, and sea is referencing Yam, also known as Yah, for Yahweh, Yahweh Adonai, Lord of earth, God in the flesh. This is serious black magic because you have millions of people uttering this statement, which is just another example as to how twisted this Venusian cult and demonic intelligences really are. Once again, they are trying to kill C, who is Yam, or Yah, or better known as Yahweh Adonai, or the real Jesus Christos, the real Jesus Christ, the real high priest, Joshua, meaning Yahweh is salvation. The reason why they are going to these extremes is that this Venusian cult and its false gods know that they will never exult again. The age of Pisces is over, and all the aims and goals that they have so longed for are crumbling before them. You see, Mercury is the opposing polarity of Venus, to simmer down that uncontrollable desire that Venus has. During the age of Pisces, where Mercury falls, which is what the Baal cycle and story of Ishtar and Tammuz are about, the fall of Mercury and the exaltation of Venus. This happens with all the planets. It's just that this cycle, it's now being dealt with since the age of Pisces just recently ended. The fact that this Venusian cult and these malefic planetary intelligences would go so far as to attempt to completely disrupt the harmony and balance that makes this existence possible shows you how damaged and out of sync they really are. This existence is based off equilibrium. If there is no equilibrium, this system will not work. These intelligences are filled with so much darkness that they only sabotage their own existence. First off, the planet Mercury responds to Yahweh Adonai, Lord of Earth, Yam Nahar. The number for Mercury is 8, symbolizing infinity, because you cannot kill a manifestation of God. It's not possible. The number 8 balances the material and immaterial worlds, and right now the immaterial worlds are not balanced whatsoever. Essentially what this quote is revealing is that this Venusian cult and their Venusian demonic intelligences want to implement another dark age, a modern dark age, hence the removal of wisdom and the removal of God, which coincides with the plans of the New World Order, who want to remove religion, outlaw religion, outlaw all property rights, children will be raised and owned by the state, confiscation of guns, people will be complete debt slaves, they'll be subject to probably like the worst medical treatment that you can find, and consciousness will sink to a new low. Well, that's not going to happen because there are cosmic forces at play here, and most importantly, there's a timetable, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of time. Another thing about the book of Revelation and revealed by John, or An, for Anu is in the Anunnaki, the fallen angels, the Nephilim, and Anu's children, who are Baal and Astaroth and Atar. There's a revealing quote as to who their Jesus Christ is. Remember, this is the impostor. "I am the root and offspring of David, the bright morning star." The bright morning star refers to Venus. The bright morning star refers to Anat and her son Atar. These two are Ashtoreth and Moloch. Atar known as Melech. These were demons who required child sacrifice. Do you see how manipulative and serious their chaos and confusion is? So who's the real Jesus Christ? Who's the real high priest? Yam is the real Jesus. "I myself, kindly, El the Beneficent, have taken you upon my hands. I proclaim your name. Yam is your name. Your name is beloved of El, Yam. Go against the hand of the mighty Baal Most High. because he spoke ill to me, and drive him from the throne of his kingship, from the resting place, the cushion on the seat of his dominion. Now mighty Hadad, son of Dagon, desired the kingship of the gods. He contended with Prince Yam-nahar, the son of El, but kindly El, father Shunem, decided the case in favor of his son. He gave the kingship to Prince Yam. He gave the power to Judge Nahar. Fearsome Yam came to rule the gods with an iron fist. He caused them, the devas or the demons, to labor and to toil under his reign. They cried unto their mother Asherah, lady of the sea. They convinced her to confront Yam, to intercede on their behalf. Yam, from the Canaanite word Yam, meaning sea, also written Yah, and is associated with Yahweh by biblical scholar René Dussoid. Yah in Yahweh is the origin root for the tetragrammaton. The tetragrammaton is composed of the prefix for Yam, Yah. Yam is one of the Elohim, or sons of El. Of all the gods, despite being the champion of El, Yam holds special hostility against Hadad, son of Dagon. Yam and Hadad battled for kingship over the earth. Like the Canaanites, the ancient Hebrews regarded the personal name of their tribal deity, Yahweh, as too sacred for common use, and they usually called him simply Adonai. The Sumerians knew Yam as Enki. The exact meaning of his name is uncertain. The common translation is Lord of the Earth. The Sumerian En is translated as a title equivalent to Lord, and was originally a title given to the high priest. Ki means earth, but there are theories that Ki in this name has another origin. He was also associated with the planet Mercury in the Sumerian astrological system. The Zoroastrians knew him as Yima, called the Brilliant, he of many flocks, the most glorious of those yet born, the sun-like one of men. He made from his authority both herds and people free from dying, both plants and waters free from drought, and men could eat inexhaustible food. In the reign of brave Yima was there neither cold nor heat, there was neither age nor death, nor envy demon-made. Indians knew him as Krishna, the divine hero and the supreme being. Of his many epithets include Govinda, finder of Go, Veda for the cows, or Gopala, protector of the Go, soul of the cows, as Govinda, like cowherd who protects cows. The Lord protects the souls of the living beings, the divine herdsman who never stumbles. It was Krishna who taught Indra, the king of the Devas, or the king of the demons, a lesson to protect the native people of Vrindavana from persecution by Indra and prevent the devastation of the pasture land of Govardhan. Krishna is considered the greatest warrior in all of Hindu mythology. He never lost any battle that he fought and was uniformly successful in all his wars. Krishna is associated with the planet Mercury, as he was born in September. The Greeks knew him as Poseidon, lord of the earth, and protector of people and their potential. He was also called the Earth Shaker, for demolishing old paradigms and creating new islands and offering calm seas with his staff of wisdom, as it was Poseidon who was credited with starting Atlantis. Atlantis was the domain of Poseidon, god of the sea. Poseidon appears as a beast, as a horse, or as a centaur, which is the river spirit of the underworld, as it usually happens in northern European folklore, and not unusually in Greece. According to Joshua 1:1-9, God appointed Joshua to succeed Moses as leader of the Israelites, along with giving him a blessing of invincibility during his lifetime. At Gibeon, Joshua asked Yahweh to cause the sun and moon to stand still, so that he could finish the battle in daylight. This event is most notable because there has been no day like it before or since, when the Lord heeded the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. God also fought for the Israelites in this battle, for he hurled huge hailstones from the sky, which killed more Canaanites than those which the Israelites slaughtered. From there on, Joshua was able to lead the Israelites to several victories, securing much of the land of Canaan. He took leave of the people, admonishing them to be loyal to their God, who had been so mightily manifested in the midst of them. Joshua is regarded as a faithful, humble, deserving, wise man. Biblical verses illustrative of these qualities and of their reward are applied to him. He was Moses' assistant and became the leader of the Israelite tribes after the death of Moses. His name was Hoshea, the son of Nun, of the tribe of Ephraim, but Moses called him Yeshua, the name by which he is commonly known.